not super thrilled with getting shut out against the Leafs last night. I'll tell you that much right now. Handkerchief Dynasty, episode 113, coming at you. Another sexily visual edition. We haven't actually done the sexily visual edition in a while. Have you noticed that? How many weeks has it been? Did we do it last week, or did we do it the weekend before?
I think we did it early last week. It's been a while.
It's been a little while, yeah. I mean, you always forget when we do it, and I have to remind you that we had done it, fairly recently. The sexily visual edition,
That's not true. That's not something that happens. You're just adding dimensions to my character, which is fine, but that's not something that ever happens. We'll go with it. We'll say for the sake of the show that I'm always like, geez, when did we last do one? I can't remember. And you're like, oh, for the love of Pete, how many times do I have to tell you? We just did one last week. And then I'm like, oh, that's right.
True. Yeah. We'll just continue to add dimensions to our characters here. I sound okay, right? I just want to make sure I'm on the right microphone. Yeah. So
you sound good.
What was your opinion of that game? Like going into the first game against Toronto, I felt like we, had a decent chance. I felt like we should have felt comfortable going in and winning that game. I'm not really sure what happened other than it was just like a real clamp down, button down, button up, belt tighten type game.
The Leafs are the first place team in the division, and they looked like the first place team in that division. I didn't think we necessarily played bad. I was very impressed by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm loath to say it, but I was very impressed. I don't know if I've ever been, it's been years. I'm thinking back to when they played Montreal since 1993, since they were like a legitimate playoff threat. When I would watch the Leafs and I was like, oh, okay, this team, the Maple Leafs are like an actual team. It's been that long, but I was very impressed by them last night. So it's not so much that I thought we didn't play our game. I just thought the Leafs knew what our game was and completely shut it down. And I think we are going to readjust. And I think that the game tomorrow, the second game of the series, should be a great game. To me, it looked like Connor and Leon were frustrated, which is in a game against the first place team. I don't have a problem with that. I want to see them frustrated. I want to see them thinking to themselves, what do I have to do? How am I going to adjust my game to make this work? And I think that after last night's game, I'm sure that's all they're thinking about right now is the Leafs. This is some stiff competition. I was so impressed. Weren't you impressed by the way the Leafs played? I don't know. They looked like a first place team. The Leafs are a lot better than I think I might have thought they were.
I was impressed. I agree that they got a really great team right now. I still have a pretty strong aversion to
Of course.
You said you were loath to say it. I think I'm even beyond loath to say it at this point. I've actually started to wonder if over fixation on Toronto and the Toronto Maple Leafs might actually be the number one motivation for emigration from Canada, because I'm honestly thinking of moving out of the country because I'm tired of it at this point. But they legitimately do have a great team right now. There's no question.
They legitimately do. And I don't personally I don't think about them. I don't really ever think about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I don't really, to me, it's a market unto itself, and you can kind of drown yourself in everything that comes out of there, or you can just not. That's the other option, is you don't have to. And to me, whatever, I kind of written, and I felt safe in doing so. For the past decade, the Leafs have been a team that's good in the regular season, fair to middling in the regular season. And then the playoffs come and they just kind of fizzle out. And that's been the story on the Leafs for like the past 10 years plus. And they haven't occupied too many of my thoughts, but it feels different this year. At least maybe it's because obviously we're in the same division as them. They're a much more relevant team this year than they have been in past years. And I also think that, they're the first place team for a reason. They haven't lost a lot of games this year. Like, they're a good, at least in this division, stacked up against the divisional opponents. They look to be a good hockey team. They look to be I think they're the best competition we've seen thus far. And I'd say that
they're actually
since the beginning of the year.
Number one team in the whole league right now.
Better than Florida. Oh, because of the right. Yeah. Well, they look it to me. They look it.
Yeah.
They completely shut down our guy. Have you ever seen Connie so quiet in a game? I can't remember the last time I've seen McDavid that effectively bottled. Like, it doesn't happen very often, but he was just.
I don't know. I tend to think of those as more just Connor having like a little bit of an off game rather than giving anyone credit for shutting Connor down.
Yeah.
Like, his timing was like slightly off. He had some good chances, but he missed. I think he was still Connor, but like trying to give anyone credit for like Connor having a good or a bad game, I don't know. I'm hesitant to, just because I honestly feel as though, like, that there either is the Connor or there isn't. And it's
I don't know.
Nothing you can do about it. The souffle will either rise or it won't. There's not a damn thing anyone else can do about it.
I'm pretty hesitant to say that Connor McDavid would have a off night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think a guy like Connor goes into that game knowing that, this is a prestige game. This is, everybody's going to be watching me. It's not like he's like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs have been burned enough by Connor McDavid that if anyone would have the motivation to come up with some sort of defense against what he does and kind of really, like, we're not letting it happen again, I think the Maple Leafs are that team. And whatever it is they concocted, it certainly worked last night.
Maybe temporarily. The term Maginot Line comes to mind here. It's like, the France was very motivated to keep the Germans out of their eastern border. They were very motivated. You could say they had the most motivation, just based on their experience, and so they built the Maginot Line. And,
absolutely.
And then the Nazis rolled in with their blitzkrieg tactics and bent them over. Like, it's like, there's only so much you can really do. And to be honest, I will chalk it up more to luck than anything else. But I won't die on this hill. Like, you have to credit the Maple Leafs with playing a little bit of a decent game. They clamped it down. It was Clamp City. It was Clamp Central USA for sure.
They played a great game. That being said, at this point, right now, where my head is at after that game, is I expect tomorrow's game to be a totally different kettle of fish. Like, I expect, if the Oilers are what they say they are and what we think they are, they'll have left the ice yesterday thinking, well, we have to come up. Now it's our turn. Now we've seen what Toronto has brought, and now we have to adjust our game to match that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way. It's a first and second place team. Like, that's the way it should work. I don't expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to roll the Oilers 4-0 again in the next game. I expect it to be a close game.
Do you expect? Do you think part of the readjustment, part of the recalibration, is going to be some lineup changes? Maybe we see two guys with the last name Russell coming out and replaced with other players?
I think at least we see one guy with the last name Russell coming out. I'm not sure what Patrick Russell brings to the lineup that other guys can't do, and what he brings.
Some fantastic coconut lemon squares the other day. He brought that to the
yeah.
I know people like that, but beyond that, it's not really bringing much offense.
No, and I bet you with the recipe that anyone on the team could make those coconut lemon squares, right? Like, it's not the sort of thing that Patrick Russell, you can't tell when he makes the coconut lemon squares. It's the recipe, right?
Yeah, that's probably true.
So I fully expect there to be some lineup changes. I think that I mean, I think taking Evan Bouchard out of the lineup, that's not something I would have done. But I mean, who knows? Maybe Tippett played a hunch, like it's worked for him. This like Tippett, I don't know. He hasn't made one of those lineup changes in a while now where I've been like, this makes absolutely no sense. But I was pretty surprised to see Bouchard out of the lineup against the first place team. But I bet you he'll be back in tomorrow night. Maybe he just wanted a more veteran line. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think though, to answer
more defensive acumen, maybe. I mean,
yeah,
maybe he might have predicted that it was going to be a clampdown game.
Yeah,
and that's what it was. But it's just.
Yeah, but I don't think we necessarily have to. I mean, our game on this run hasn't been. It's been a good defensive game, but I don't think that we are a clampdown team. Like that's not. You know what I mean? Like we can't adjust. The Oilers, I should say, the Oilers can't adjust their game. They can't be reactionary. Like we have the guys to dictate the type of game that's played. I don't think the Oilers necessarily have to be, I heard Toronto's doing this, so we'll do this to counter it. You know what I mean? It should be, we're doing this. Let's see how Toronto deals with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I think that's very true. Do you think? I mean, I probably know what your answer to this is going to be, but do you think?
I know what your question is going to be. I know what your question is.
We might want to get more. Okay, well, tell me then.
Is it something about the goaltending? Right?
You're warm. Okay. So what was my question going to be though? Smart guy.
Okay, well, ask your question. I think it was going to be.
Should we start to see more of Mikko rotating?
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't think so. I think maybe he plays the next game, but maybe he just plays. I mean, honestly, I was cooking myself some eggs this morning, and I was thinking about the goaltending situation, and I was thinking about what I would do if I was playing if this season was a video game, right? And using those parameters, there's absolutely no way I would put Mikko Koskinen in for the next game. Mike Smith, this is his first loss, right? And none of those goals were super stinky goals, right? The Jason Spezza goal was kind of the one that when you look at that goal, you think to yourself like, Smith should have had that. But it was a cagey goal. That was a gross veteran move. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was a move that Jason Spezza has finely tuned over the years, and it just straight up beat Mike Smith. And I bet you that shot would have beat a lot of goalies. Yeah. Like Jason Spezza's no spring chicken, right? He knows all the tricks. So if it was me, there's no way. Why on God's green earth would I put Mikko Koskinen in for the next game? Like, did we learn nothing from the qualifying round against Chicago? Trust Mike Smith. He's got you this far. He's been playing Vezina caliber. You know what I mean? Like he's been playing out of his mind. So there's no way. Unless he's really tired and he's like, Coach, I'm so tired. But that doesn't sound to me like something Mike Smith would say. So if it's me, I'm starting Mike Smith the next game. Like I'm the memories of Mikko are still way too vivid in my mind. Like he had some absolutely horrible games. Like let's not forget how trashy Mikko Koskinen played. I know he didn't get any rest and he had to play all those games in a row, but he played the majority of those games horribly. So I'm in no rush to put Mikko back in. Yeah, really? I know. The Mikko, he's weaved a spell where he's just like, we're willing to he was tired. He played too many games in a row. He can only play every fourth game.
Well, it's like in the 50s when your father was alcoholic and he was like just falling all over himself with the Turris. He'll be like, oh, this is fucking bull. It's like, oh, daddy's just tired again. Oh, he's so tired. He crashed into the walnut tree because he shouldn't have been driving when he was so tired.
Right. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think they should put Miko? If they do put Miko in next game, I wouldn't be surprised.
He's played well the last few games he's gone in. I still think there's a decent chance Miko's going to put together a good little run here before the season's through. But yeah, Mike Smith. To be honest, I'm just a little bit worried that Mike Smith maybe tweak something a little bit, because he was like stretching like a mofo. You remember that one like TV timeout? He just like spent the whole time doing like a yoga class on his belly.
Yeah. But that's
maybe I'm
there's a reason he's still playing at 38 years old, right? And I think the reason is because he spends most of his TV timeouts doing yoga classes. Like, you and I are both the same age as Mike Smith, essentially. That's Can you true. Imagine like the kind of shape that man must be in? Like, there's 38 that's a lot of years to be doing what he's doing. Yeah. There's just no way
facing
to be flopping around like that.
Vulcanized rubber pucks at over 120 miles an hour to your face.
I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to think about it. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Miko got to start next game. If Mike Smith is able to play the next game, I would definitely start Mike Smith again. Let him get his revenge. He's earned it. He's earned the opportunity to get his revenge.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I think it still remains a burning question. I mean, when we were trying to battle back and trying to get some juice, trying to score a goal in the last game, we did see Coach Tip mix up the line combinations a little bit. We saw a line featuring Connor, Leon, and Yessi. Mm-hmm. We've also seen Yamamoto pulled up to that line. I mean, over under, are we just going to be? Are we going to continually be tortured and traumatized by never seeing the Dynamite line together ever again, just because the coaching staff has basically just dug in their heels and they're like, what's the deal there? You think is it? I mean, we've talked about it 100 times already, so I don't know what there is that's new to say, but you think it like. It's just baffling to me that we just cannot see it again. It's weird.
It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I think that the first line has found chemistry. So I'm not as red hot about not seeing that Dynamite line as I once was.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I mean, it's not like Tippy started. He's not, I wouldn't say that he's going to the blender. I'd say that Tippy right now is in a game like that. And he's mixing up the lines a little bit. He's just trying to get a goal. So, and you have guys to work with. Like, I mean, if you have Connor and Leon as your guys, I mean, you have so many offensive weapons to work with, right? So you're trying to find a goal. He hasn't gone to the blender very much, like this past run of 12 games. He hasn't mixed up the lines very much. Maybe the Oilers have done it in the last 2 minutes of a period where they're trying to go into the break with a goal or something like that. But
he probably has had the most steady lines of like any Oilers coach in recent memory, actually, which is something I've always advocated for. Give people a chance to learn to play together and gel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if for tomorrow night's game, the second line was the Dynamite line, believe me, I'd be over the moon. I'd be the first guy that's through, but the first line right now, the Nuge, McDavid, Puljujarvi line, like that's a great line. You know what I mean? Like every time those three guys are on the ice, something's happening. So there's no real need. I mean, I think sometimes the Oilers, I think there's a lot of pressure to have offensive success on the Oilers, much more than any other team in the league, from just the culture of the team, right? But I don't really think there's a need to blow up any of our lines right now. I think give them the chance to work their way out of it, right? They looked frustrated last night, and to me, that's such a great sign. Like, I would much rather see frustration from lines like that aren't producing than just complacency when they're sitting on the bench, it's like they're unaware that they're being stifled. And that's not the impression I got last night from the bench. So I'd say leave them together, let them work their way out of it. Just like Mike Smith. I mean, you went on this amazing run. There's no need to just throw everything out the window as soon as you encounter Like, what do you think? You're going to win every game? You're just going to roll the rest of the season until you're sipping out of the cup? Like, you're going to lose some games, right? You have to win. You have to deal with defeat. You know what I mean? You have to be able to handle that and learn from it. So yeah, I don't know.
It's weird because we're we're like, I think, fourth overall in the league right now in the standings. So in spite of the fact that there's this very bitter taste of this loss, like, I wonder if even just for me myself, if I lack the kind of psychic circuitry to handle this kind of middle of the road status, because like I'm either super super high, or like after a loss I get really really low, you know. And like, as an Oilers fan, trying to figure out, okay, we're second in our division, we're fourth overall in the league, we've got the top two scorers, but we just lost the last game, and for whatever reason, I have the epigenetic tendency to still get really down in the dumps based on like one or two losses. It's like I don't know, like, I've got to learn just to be able to, like, we're fucking like 11 and whatever in our last whatever, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you and I are we're usually at similar, we're usually at a similar keel. And right now, I think you know, you're taking this loss a little harder than I am today. I think there's a lot we can. Toronto's a first place team, and they played like it, and we lost to them. Yeah. And now we'll see if we have the stuff to come back, and you know. And I think we do. I think we should. Like, Connor and Dry have been on a tear. I think Dry. It's another thing we can talk about is you've been tweeting about how you don't think Dry is right. I think the general consensus right now is that Dry is banged up. Nothing's been said you know, from the Oilers, but other than, I think, though, I heard he missed there was one practice that he didn't suit up. To be
honest, I think Connor's a little banged up too, but to be honest, like, everyone's probably a little banged up with this compressed schedule. Like, there's just so many games, like,
no doubt.
It's a ridiculous intensity and frequency. Just here, knock on wood, here's hoping everyone can stay in. Like, do you think what do you think of Cahoon? Because I keep on kind of just seeing like flashes of Cahoon and being like, yeah, but ultimately at this point, I think it's probably just fair to say it's baseline competence that we're seeing from Cahoon on that line right now, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, flashes. Yeah, I don't know. I think Cahoon is the one guy who, I mean, he's been on that second line since day one.
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen anything from him consistently that if he was moved off of that line for somebody else, I would really be like shocked or surprised. He hasn't really, I mean, there's been no goals necessarily, or games at least, that I would kind of pin on him where he's been he's had a real off night and he's cost us. I don't know. I'm not sure. The only reason I think about him as much as I do is because he's on the second line. So I hear his name in the same breath as Draisaitl's and Yamamoto's name. I think that's what's kind of keeping him relevant, is his mere presence on that line. I'm not sure if his play has been, I don't think his play necessarily has, you know what I mean? I'm not sure he really should be on the second line.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard not to imagine here another kind of player with a little bit more offensive acumen, a little bit more of like a star adjacent type forward on that line.
Totally.
Maybe a free agent next year. You never know. Also, I wanted to ask you, because I'm continue to be like, for a player who has 1 point, is -1, and has a sub 40% face-off win percentage, I continue to just be dazzled by Gaetan Haas and like his ability to just be in on the play and be on the boards, and his defensive work, and even just like little subtle passes he makes, you know. Like, I just see such a player there that's still being developed, still a bit raw, no question. I mean, he started off, I believe his first game he played 2 minutes last year, so he's moving, he's progressing at a glacial pace. But like, we certainly don't miss Turris off on that fourth line very much with someone like Haas playing, and with how well JJ's playing too, right?
Yeah, Haas definitely makes the most of his ice time. He doesn't look like a guy who was trying to find their way. I mean, there's fourth lines are so weird, right? There's like two different kinds of players. There's a player that's relegated to the fourth line, and then there's a player who the fourth line is sort of where they hone their craft, and then you know what I mean? They can become a great sort of
support player. Yeah.
Great support player based on the knowledge that they've gained toiling on the fourth line, right? And Gaetan Haas to me looks like that sort of guy, where he's never going to be, I shouldn't say never, because who knows, but he basically doesn't look like a guy that's been relegated to the fourth line. You know what I mean? And you need a strong fourth line. That's not something that should be made up of guys that are relegated to the fourth line. There should be guys, if you're lucky, glue guys that are, that's their bread and butter, and they relish the fourth line, what the fourth line can bring to a team. And when they get out there, they're looking to make things happen from a fourth line context. You know what I mean? And he always does that. So yeah, I agree. I mean, he completely outperformed Turris. There's no question about it.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, still remains to be seen if Kyle Turris will be spotted again gracing like any of our lines at this point. I mean, maybe they try him on the wing somewhere at some point. If there's a rash of injuries, like man, that free agent signing just definitely looks like a boner now. But who knows? There's still time for him to redeem. But we got him for another year after this. It's like,
yeah, who knows what's happening? I mean, I think that you remember what was going on with James Neal in Calgary, like how we wound up getting James Neal, how there was no real way to work James Neal into Calgary's lineup, and Neal became frustrated with it at that point in his career. I wonder if that's sort of happening here with Kyle Turris, where there's just no real spot for him, and he is unable to sort of gel with what the organization needs him to do to have a roster spot on the team. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
who knows?
I mean, that could be. You could argue that's being diplomatic about it. I mean, but yeah, it's possible, because yeah, it definitely seems like there's just he's like a non-standard component that just like doesn't fit into the engine anywhere for us right now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
I mean, I wish him the best of luck, whatever happens, but it's been a bit of a poor showing. But that being said, I think there's a lot to be excited about with a lot of other forwards on the roster. I think Archie is looking great. Like what a great signing that was last year. That's like, it's just really turned out to be a real glue guy for us. And even Ennis has looked
oh my gosh,
quite strong.
Both those guys.
Enzo,
great games last night.
And then Chaser. Did you know Alex Chason's nickname was Chaser? That's an awesome fucking nickname.
Yeah, it is. It sounds like it sounds like that
Thelonious Monk album, Straight No Chaser. Maybe they should be playing some Thelonious Monk whenever Chason scores.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. I was gonna say it sounds like one of the guys that like Luke Skywalker flew with, Rogue Squadron.
Oh, sounds totally. Like Wedge Antilles or Chaser.
Yes.
Can you get him off my tail, Chaser? I'm on it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Jason even looks like he could have been one of those guys. Like he easily could have been part. He's got that sort of.
Well, no, he's got the kind of like vague, like extra casting in like a European casting office, based out of Britain or whatever. They're like, oh, we got this French guy. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, we want multi-ethnic like fighters in our squadron.
Yeah, Chiason's jib. We haven't really ever talked about Chiason's jib, but it's like it might be like it's top 5 jibs on the team.
Oh, he's got top fucking tier jib. Like I also love the like real confident hostility he exudes in the press conferences. Like you just tell he's just like, it's the quiet hostility of someone who's not even being pulled down to the level of the people asking the questions. He's just he's like, I'm up here, you're down there. I'm not even. It's just water off a duck's back. This bullshit. Okay. I'm Alex
Yes.
Jason. I'm not gonna. I know. Like that one time where he joked about how now maybe we don't have to hear for like 5 weeks in a row, like how we have no depth scoring or whatever. Like the same questions.
Yes.
I still continue to be shocked by like some of the questions put out there. Like there was someone, they shall remain nameless. Someone was asking like McDavid himself about the whole Matthews comparison or whatever a few weeks ago. And he was just like, laughed and was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that. Like this whole like Matthews Toronto thing, I still want to go off on it. Like, I feel like, honestly, I will, if I do end up leaving Canada, and let's be honest, like, it's going to be because of Toronto. Like, I'm just tired of hearing about Toronto. It's like being in Canada and not living in Toronto. It's just like, imagine you were in a family, right? Or like maybe you have someone in your extended family that just becomes like the Lloyd Braun of your family. Everyone's always just going on about them no matter what. And you realize, like, look, like this person's nothing special. Like outside of this family, outside of Canada, nobody fucking talks about Toronto at all. It's not figuring prominently in anyone's imagination.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't understand like where you're hearing. Like, I don't have the same problem. Like you have to cull your Twitter, I think is what's going on here. I think you might be following way too many. No, what they have to do is
TSN just has to understand what fucking region I'm logging in from and just not tell me like about what the fucking, bench warmer on the Leafs had for breakfast the previous day. So
I know, but why are you watching TSN? Like, I mean, when the Oilers aren't playing, I don't understand. Like the only time I'm watching, it's a hockey game or the Oilers are playing basically. Like, are you watching like Hockey Central and like shows like that? Like that's hockey.
Well, yeah, under advisement.
Because if you're watching that, if you're watching that's hockey, I mean, you need to stop that right now.
Well, no, but I have to. No, I can't stop because it's actually under advisement of my physician. He said to help with my blood pressure, I have to watch only Toronto news media and only stories regarding the state of Israel. That's all that I'm allowed to watch.
No, I don't know. I think you need a second opinion. You need a second opinion, friend.
Maybe a doctor who's actually credentialed, you think?
Yeah, I think, yes. I think you need to. I mean, this sounds like a homeopathic doctor you're seeing. No offense, but that sounds like
hey, not that there's anything wrong. Not that there's anything wrong with homeopathy, man.
Nothing. I mean, I'm just saying that reaches a point. I mean, if your doctor is telling you to watch more That's Hockey and you're feeling this upset, I think you need a second opinion. That's all.
It could be environmental, because to be honest, as you can see, I don't actually have shelter. I'm outside. I'm homeless. And actually, apropos of that, just a reminder, everyone, that we do have a Handkerchief Dynasty Patreon up now. Thank you, Matthew, for becoming our first ever Patreon. We love you.
And you know what? There's great things coming. There's great things to the Patreon. There's great things coming.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw another mixtape or two up today, and we'll be doing some very special monthly episodes, I believe.
Like I said, I mean, it's about to get really noisy in here.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, man. Well, I believe we'll be recording in the next couple of days, so I'll see you there. We got some very cool guests coming up next week, so everyone look forward to the cool guests. And stay frosty. We'll catch up with you real soon.
So long, everybody.
Bye.